Hey, this is Professor Homa. Welcome to WD01. After doing the Word intro with Word 2013, we're just going to work on a business letter. This shouldn't take long. This is almost part 2 of our first assignment, but there's a PDF file that I can hand out in class, or that you could even download, that just has some things on it like the margins, which we already set the margins at the 2003 default with 1 1/4 on each side and 1 inch on the top and bottom. If I'm in Acrobat or Adobe Reader right now, and it has all these little images on here, it's showing that there's basically 5 lines for the return address, 4 lines here for the inside address. That's who it's going to. Here's the salutation. It has different parts of here, so you know what's really composed of a business letter if you're not familiar with writing a business letter or a cover letter. That's kind of the way this is set up. This is kind of a standard layout for that, and we're doing it, so you have kind of the indications on here, also some, every little thing between how many returns to put in here. There's also a 3.5-inch tab that's set here for the date, and is also used for the sincerely part in your name and for the area where you'd sign in the middle. So this is a little sample here so you can see what it looks like. You're going to type this. It's not a lot of stuff to type. And I even have some errors in here. You can see there's errors so that you could spell check it. And I won't make you watch me type everything, so I'll pause the video and put some information in there as we're going. So anyway, we're going to finish typing and you could put in bogus information here for your address if you don't want to put in your own address. You could still use this one for the Flint Hill Avenue, and again, this is made up. So I'm going to go back to Word, and this is the document that we originally started with our Word intro, and I'm going to finish typing it, and I'm going to start next with, it has Yorktown, New Jersey. I'll just put Washington, New Jersey here, because you may be from Washington, New Jersey with 07882, and I'll finish typing that. I'll pause it and finish typing it, and then I'll move on. Okay, the next thing I'll do here before I go any further is I'm going to set a tab. Now I could set a tab at any point, but I'm going to do it right from the beginning so I don't forget. So I'm going to highlight all my text. Now setting a tab, that's the mini toolbar, we're not going to use that right now, and we could turn that off if we don't like it popping up. Now when we set a tab, we don't have to, it won't tab any of my text. It won't move anything because you have to use the tab key. And we're only going to use the tab key for the date, and we're also going to use the tab key for the closing at the bottom where your signature line is. So, but I am going to set a tab, and just so you know where to set a tab, I'm going to go in my paragraph dialog box launcher, open that up, and I won't see tabs in this area. Remember, this is where we did the spacing. I'm going to go to tabs, and it's very easy to set a tab. You're just going to go here and just type it in. And on the sheet I mentioned put in 3.5. You don't do the default. Defaults are usually always a 1/2 inch, so you're just going to use the tab stop at 3.5. It's going to be a left tab because it's going to start from the left side. We're not going to use any leaders yet, so don't worry about any of that, but you will want to hit the set button because that will actually set the tab so it exists. So I could click on it and see that it's a left tab with no leader. And then I just have to hit OK. Okay, I don't see any text moving anything, but there is a tab. There it is. It's set up there. That is my tab. That's a left tab. So when I hit my tab key, it'll jump right to that spot and it'll skip all the 1/2 inch ones. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to hit return and return again. So when I say hit 2 returns, I mean you're putting that extra return in between. And I could see those because I have my invisible marks here. So the next thing that I'm going to type is going to be my date, and I'll just put in September 15th. And I'll put a comma and 2014, and I'll hit 2 returns again, and then I'm going to put the company name. Okay, there's the company name that I just typed very fast. ABC Industries Inc., Director of Human Services, who it's directed to. And what I'm going to do is hit return twice again to put that extra space in between there, and I'll hit return, and I'll just put attention, a colon. Remember the 2 dots here is a colon. A semicolon has a dot and the comma underneath it. That's a colon. So I'll put attention, and I'll just put Human Resources Director. If you didn't know the name of the person, just put the title so it gets to the right person. And I'll hit return again. And then I'm going to start typing my letter. And I'm not going to make you watch me type the letter. So I'll pause again and get that information in there. And then we'll do some quick formatting and we'll be done. Okay, I just typed these 2 paragraphs. Notice that I put 2 returns in between here. You might think, oh, isn't there only one return? No, I have to hit return twice to get that extra space, because there's actually this is a paragraph, just so you're aware of this. Whenever you see a return, it's a paragraph, and that's a paragraph where there's nothing there. It's a one-line paragraph with nothing there. So just be aware that these are all different paragraphs, and whenever you see these, they're new paragraphs. So I'm going to hit one more paragraph here. I think I'm going to do it twice. And this time I'm going to type sincerely. I think I got that right. I'll hit comma, and then I'll hit 4 returns. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll scroll down here, and I'll put my last name. And that's going to be in between where I'm going to put my signature here. Now I could leave it like this, but one thing we're going to do, just to make it look a little nicer, is just tab over our dates and our name and our closing, the sincerely, which this is the, let's just double check. That's the closing and the signature line in the signature area, just so we're familiar with that space. And this is very easy. Since we set our tab on everything, since we did Control A or highlighted everything we had to start, and we set our tabs are already there. So here's how easy it is to tab. I put my cursor right here before September, and I hit my tab key, and it moves over. And I go in front of sincerely, hit my tab key, and it moves over. And I put my last name in here, and I hit my tab key, and it moves over. Now there's other ways to do that. You could have I could have highlighted that line and indented it over to 3.5. Same thing down here. There's going to be different ways we can do that. But for now, now you know how to set a tab. Remember, your tab is under paragraph settings, tabs, and there's my 3.5. So if you ever wanted to, change it or add another tab, you can do that through here. I'll cancel that. And I think that's pretty much it. Business letter was pretty simple. Margins we already set up. Remember, margins were under page layout, margins, and we had used the Office 2003 default. And we set a tab. We already set our default font to 12-point Cambria. And one last thing here, I see there's some things that are spelled wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a spell check under review, and that's where spell check should be. And I'm going to go over to spelling and grammar, and I'm going to hit that button. And it's coming up with some things. It's coming up with HOMA, which I'm going to ignore. And you could always do ignore all. If it's my name is going to be there a bunch of times, I'll hit ignore. With a, you might say, why did with a come up there? It's because it came up with 2 spaces. And without my formatting marks, I wouldn't have known that there's 2 spaces. So if I zoom in there, I could see that there's 2 spaces between with, and I'm going to change that. And that'll put it familiar spelled wrong, and it gives me a suggestion here of the right way to spell it. There's actually liar at the end, so I'll change that. And then companies I have wrong, and it gives me a couple choices. I'll choose the one, since it's possessive, your company's work. I'll choose that one, and that should be it. And that went away, and there's nothing else I should have to change here, and everything's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it. I'm going to do a file, save as. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Computer, and I'm going to go to My Documents, and you may go here to Documents, and I made a folder, and you should make a folder for this class called CSC 112M1. I'm going to go in there, and then you should have a Word folder, and then an Assignments folder. I also have a Notes one in case you want to put notes in there, and I'm going to save this as, we're just going to call it WD01 underscore, I'll just call it biz letter, and I'll put my last name first initial. So I'll do it like this: WD01 underscore biz letter underscore HOMA R, or whatever your last name first initial is. You don't have to put the .docx in there. That'll happen automatically as long as you're saving it as a Word document. And the newest version, if you needed to save it as an older version, you could use the Word 97 2003, but the regular version should work fine. And we'll hit save, and now we see our file name along the top, and we're done. So if you want to close out of it, we can hit the X button here, and this is our Acrobat Reader or Adobe Reader. I'll close out of that, and we're done.